Hi and welcome back to another video on this channel. So what are we making today? So today, again, for another first of mine, I'm going to be trying to make some lotion bars. So I'm going to be using these molds, and then I have on the side got some extra ones because I think this recipe is going to make more than 6, but I've only got one of these, so I've got those for extra. So what am I going to be making out of this? So in here I have some beeswax. So the measurement in here, I've got 113 grams of beeswax, and I'm going to melt this in a double boiler. Then I have 85 grams, I've already measured it all out, 85 grams of cocoa butter, and then 85 grams of shea butter. Then I have some coconut oil, I have some honey fragrance oil, I have some avocado oil, and my last ingredient, I have some arrowroot powder. So I'll show you how I will plan to put this all together once we reach that step. So the first step, as I said, I've got my metal tin. I'm going to pour that into there, and I'm going to melt this on a double boiler. Once it's melted, I'll come back and we'll proceed to the next step. So here is my beeswax all melted. That took about 20 minutes to melt that down. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer it into this plastic container. Ideally you would use a clear like Pyrex jug, but I don't have one on hand, just so that you can see when all the butters have melted. I'm going to do it in that just because it's not very deep in there, because this is quite a big pot. And I also wanted to say, just at the beginning I said I had 85 grams of the shea butter and of the cocoa butter, but actually you do either one or the other, or you can do half and half. So I've split it down, and in here now I've put 42.5 grams of shea butter, 42.5 grams of cocoa butter, and I've got 85 grams of the coconut oil, and that's all in this jug. So what I'm going to do is I'll transfer this into the other jug, and then we're literally, with the heat of this, we're going to melt down the other butters. So let's get doing that. So literally, let's pour that in. And then we'll put these butters straight in. And we'll just try and now let those melt down. So if it hardens up, I'll have to put this back on heat. I'm just going to try and melt these down as much as possible, although my beeswax isn't very deep. I might have to pop this just in the hot water of the double boiler, just see if I can melt that down slightly. So I'll be back. So I've heated this up slightly and it's still quite clumpy, so I'm just stirring and just waiting for the butters to naturally melt on their own in that heat. So I think this takes some time, so I'm not going to rush the melting of the butter. I'm just going to let them melt themselves. So once this goes down to a nice liquid sort of consistency and these have all melted down, all these butters, then we'll go on to adding the next step. Now so I am back, and as you can see this has melted, but in order to melt this I had to put this jug back in the double boiler. It just wasn't melting on its own, it was actually hardening up, and I wanted the butters all to melt down to liquid form. It's just because the other videos I've watched said just let the beeswax melt the butters naturally. That wasn't happening, so I did put this back on the double boiler. It worked for me. So now all the butters, the beeswax, that's all in here now, that's all in liquid form. So the next step now is to add the liquid oil, which for me in this case I've got the 85 grams of avocado oil. So let's see what happens now. Let's add all that in. Oh my gosh, and that just goes all hard in there. So let's stir that up. See how it's gone all green. So I'm going to mix that in. And now, because the butters have all melted and they're hot, you know, where that oil just sort of congealed straight away, I'm now using the heat of the liquid butters just to melt down this avocado oil. So that's mixing in quite nicely. It's turned my mixture from a yellow mixture to green. Not what I thought I was going to have, but okay. Got some left in the glass there. Let's get that in. And then the next step, I think we will add the arrowroot powder. So the arrowroot powder is an optional step. So that's like half a teaspoon of powder, and apparently that just gives the bar some texture to it. So you don't have to do arrowroot, but I'm going to try it. So I'm going to mix that in now. So I'm not going to put too much, that's all I'm going to put of the powder. So I'm going to put that in and let's stir that in just whilst the the butters are hot. So anything that I want mixed in I'm going to mix in now. So I'll just wait for this to mix and go into the butters, and then I'm going to add the fragrance oil, and then we'll get to pouring. And already the mixture is hardening up, as you can see. So in a minute I might just pop this just in the double boiler, just with the hot water, not necessarily boiling it, but just to stop this solidifying. It solidifies quite quickly by the looks of things. So yeah, I'm just going to pop this back on heat just to melt this down because it is hardening up on me. And then it's the fragrance oil, and then pour. So a bit of heat has helped melt that down, including the powder, which sort of went all clumpy. Final ingredient is the fragrance oil. So in this case I am using honey fragrance oil. I'm just going to pop that in, give that a stir, just make sure that's incorporated in, and then we're going to get straight to pouring before this hardens up again. So here are my moulds. I'm going to start with filling this one first, and any excess I'll go into the pour print. So I'm just going to straight away, I'm going to get some tissue actually, because it's hardening up already in the jug, and that's literally been like a minute. So we need to get pouring. That last bit, can you see it's getting cloggy and it's all sticking to the jug? I'm going to put this again back on heat just for the final pour, just so I can get the most out of what's left in that jug. So in the time that I've just melted this in the heater again, these are forming. It sets so quickly. So let's get pouring these pours. It was almost like the perfect mix. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let these fully cure and set. I don't know, I'll give it 6 hours or something. I might even then put them in the fridge to completely harden up. It might be tomorrow that I come back to demold them just to make sure, and then I'll show you what I've got to package them in. So okay, so it's been a few hours since I've made these, so I think they're ready to demold. I did just test this one because this is going to be my one anyway, and that's come out lovely. And then you rub it on the skin. So how I'm going to package these up, let me show you. I've got these set of tins here. They're a set of 12 2-ounce tins. I've got these from Amazon, so I'll link those down below. And my aim was to put them in there, but I have got some muffin liners, so I might see if it fits in there. So I've just got these little liners. Just gonna pop one in and just square it, almost just lines the tin. Get that, pop it inside. Just shake a little bit, and then what I've got for the top is I made these labels on my Munbin printer. So this is the paw print, and I've just got the ingredients that I used on it. Put that on the lid. And that's that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all my tins ready with the liners in, and then demold these and put them straight into the tins. Okay, so the tins are ready. Let's get out the rest of these paw prints. So give them all a stretch. I'll literally pop them straight into their tin. So I like the idea of the paper, just because where the bars may be a bit greasy, things like that. I mean, they're not that greasy to touch. It just protects it in the tin. So that's the paw prints. Now let's get out the bee ones. And I'm hoping these are going to fit in the tins. And they look lovely, don't they? Let's see if it fits. Perfect fit. So they've come out green, I think, because of the avocado oil. So there they are. Don't they look great? Let me show you again. Got the bee one, the bee mould, the paw print mould. I'm going to put the lids on, add the labels on, and that's my lotion bars complete. And again, this was done with the honey and a mix of butters. You can do whatever ingredients you want. So I actually had to just remake these because one, I forgot to add the coconut oil to the ingredients. Then secondly, on this one, I called it a honeycomb bar. It's not honeycomb, is it? It's a round bee bar. So I renamed that on there and put all the ingredients on. And then I've actually, so I just received some white labels. I've just made some tags, or stickers should I say, for the back. So I've just made these stickers just as instructions. So I'm literally on the back of those, and that actually fits perfect on the back. So I'm just going to stick all these now onto the back of the tins, and that will just finish them off. So here's my finished bars. I love the way they've come out. I'm really happy. It was a bit of a faff getting it all to melt. The videos on YouTube make it look a lot easier that they melt. I think they do a lot of cutting and editing out, where in fact the butters do take quite a bit to melt down. But anyway, they're done, they're packaged, they look beautiful, they've formed well. Honey's not my most favourite fragrance. I've done it purely because of the bee, but I would love to do different perfumed fragrances, so I will do that in the future. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you have found it helpful and true. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.